Now, all I can say about our program tonight is that we are in for a treat. And now, without further ado, I present...
I apologize.
Hello?
Excuse me.
Hello?
I'm just trying to speak for a second. I'm not trying to bother nobody. I hope you don't mind if I call. Can I call you Bill? I'm sorry, Bill. Excuse me. All right. I'm not trying. I apologize. I'm not trying to interrupt nobody. I know y'all trying to have a civilized festival. And I know y'all expect Sarah Jones. Like I say, Bill, I have an important announcement. I know, you important too, because without you we wouldn't be here. But still, my announcement is very important because I am here. My name is Miss Lady, and I am here as an ambassador here in Chicago from the program that I'm part of in New York, which is the Homeless Ushers in the Theaters of New York program. Now, if you are not familiar with this program, it is part of a citywide plan to clean up the streets and give homeless people some culture. Now, as I tell people, please do not feel sorry for me because I am homeless. Feel sorry for me because I have now seen Mary Poppins, the musical, over 400 times. That's right. I suffer with it, too. I suffer with it, too. But anyway, they asked me to come all the way out here to Chicago. That's the real reason why I want to come. I told Sarah Jones, if she gonna get to travel, I want to go too, because she didn't bring me out here last time. I said, what's wrong? You ashamed of Miss Lady or something like that? So I'm here now. And she told me, I could come up here and say anything I want to. That's what I said. And because, I like to travel. I like to meet new people, I live in New York now, but I'm originally from Raleigh, North Carolina. Y'all know where that's at? No, you don't. That's all right. Anyway, she told me y'all Chicago Humanities Festival was going to be the topic about the body. Now, I saw the front of y'all book had Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on it. I like to pass out when I seen that picture. But anyway, I really wanted to talk not just about, a beautiful body or extraordinary body, but just talking about how everybody mostly just the same. I mean, give or take, if you 7'2", then you might be a little bit different, but most people just the same, And what I mean is that we might don't look alike, but we got more in common than we might think. That's all my point is, that, like, for example, some of y'all here, I know y'all, very intellectual type, listen to the NPR and all that. I know all about you. And I say, well, some of these people in this audience probably, they got their PhD, I say, well, shoot, me too also. I got my PhD, poor, homeless, and disabled. I tell it to you just like that. That's my reality, Shoot, as far as I'm concerned, I'm an expert too. I got plenty of experience, I got everything anybody else got, everything intellectual got. I got my experience and my intelligence. I got everything y'all got except tenure. That's an academic joke. Yes. But anyway, I know I'm just supposed to be talking about the body. And, when Sarah Jones told me that's what y'all theme, it made me think about a lot of things, but most of all, for me personally, it made me think about health. My health, meaning like just to hold on to the body I have, while I got it, because you only get one, I mean, even though I know some of y'all in here might could afford a little upgrade on the one you got. But, the truth is, for somebody like me, I for real, I have to tell people I got to think about food long before I think about health anyway. That's my reality. And, these doctors will tell you with a straight face, you're supposed to watch what you eat. I want to tell them I got to find it first before I can watch it. But people think I'm playing, but I'm serious now. Because You know, I'm out there on the street sometimes just trying to survive. You know, that's how I met Sarah Jones in the first place, you know. But she was walking, you know, a lot of people walk in New York. But when I see them in their car at a red light, I'll ask them for some change, you know. But they just look at me like I'm some crazy deadbeat, you know. They too busy looking in their mirror, you know. I tell them, look at me. I am your mirror. You know, I let them think about it for a second. You know, I say, you know, there but for the grace of God, all that type of thing. It ain't even really just that. It's that we all one body. Like y'all have in y'all schedule, body politic. That means everybody, you know, and we all reflection of each other. Long as I'm where I'm at, I have an effect on you that you might couldn't even feel, you know. And I try to explain it to people like that, but they, like I say, they think I'm crazy, or maybe they can't hear me, or sometimes like they can't even see me, you know, like I'm invisible. But I try to tell people, you know, it's funny, because me, even though sometimes I be on the street myself, you know, when I travel new places, and I be walking out, I was out there walking around in this weather y'all got. Thank you, by the way. And I see homeless people on the street, and I'm just like everybody else. You know, I say, oh, ain't that a shame? Look at all them homeless, you know. I forget that's what people think when they see me. But that's because I'm inside of this body. I'm looking out, you know. But here in Chicago, I was walking on that pretty street, which y'all got Michigan Avenue. When you go across that river, and it's all them pretty buildings. On the one side, all that pretty architects over here and over there, you know. And the river is just so pretty in the sunlight and everything. And gargoyles and just all type of beautiful, like I say, architecture. And then I'm looking at this bridge. And I see on each side of that bridge, one man and another man, they like a matching set of these homeless men, you know. Just sitting there like they built right into that bridge with their matching sign that say, you know, we all God's children, I'm homeless and hungry and all this. And I remember I looked at them two men and I'm thinking about the body. I say, what them two men maybe could have did with their body, you know, when they was little boys, what they dreamed about, you know, that maybe they could have made something with their hands instead of holding it out. You know, maybe their hands was useful. Or maybe they could have been an artist or a musician or even a surgeon. You know, it ain't that far-fetched. You know, if people get the chance to do something with their body and their mind, they might could do just anything. Just anything if they get the opportunity. You know, but then I start thinking about myself. You know, when I was a little girl, I mean, I'm older now. You live hard, you age fast, you know, but when I was a little girl, I used to be able to run fast, like you can't believe. People used to say, look at Dolores, that's my real name. I must like y'all. They say, look at Dolores, that girl like greased lightning. You know, I was so fast. And it's just like if God just gave it to me as a gift, you know. But then people didn't realize, you know, I told y'all I'm from Raleigh. Time when I was growing up, you know, I got so fast because people don't realize I had to run about 5.5 miles from my house to the school because we didn't have no bus. You know, the white children had their bus, and we didn't have no bus. We wasn't allowed to go to their nice school with the little white children. But I used to laugh because, you know, they had the white children had their track meet. And they used to have their track practice and their uniform and whatnot. And I didn't need no track meet. All I need was I ain't had no bus. And I was just so fast and so free. I remember that feeling in my body. So when Sarah Jones asked me to think about my body, I had that feeling of being so free, you know. And like I say, you know, now I'm older now, your life don't always turn out how you think it might turn out, you know. But I worked hard just like anybody else, but I had me some trouble along the way, and I tried to get my education best way I could. But it's very hard when people don't all have the same chances, like I tried to say before. So I think when people is all separated, you could feel it in your body that something ain't right. And I think even nowadays, it's different, thank God, but sometimes I look around, you could see the children ain't all get the same treatment, They still separated. And I think they could feel it in their body. The black and the white and all the children, because it ain't natural. So something feel wrong about that, and it stay in your body. But I guess that's all I thought about when she asked me to really, put myself in that question of what my body means to me. Ain't nobody really asked me about that in a long time. But me being disabled now today, like I say, I just try to be grateful for the memories, them good memories I have about being so free. Back when my body gave me all that freedom, that nobody couldn't take it from me. So that's all I want to say to you tonight. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to be back next year, too. I hope y'all have another good topic. All right now.
Hi. Well, thank you, Miss Lady, and thank you all so very much for having me here. I'm really happy to be here. I'm especially pleased to be here for the second time. Some of you were here last time. I can hear you. Thank you so much. And as you heard from Miss Lady, and you've all been attending and supporting this festival, which I'm so grateful that you do, we're talking about the body. And in fact, I understand that the festival actually has included all sorts of, kind of wonderful discussions of biology and sexuality, and I believe even the history of the condom was something that was quite popular. Is that right? Okay. Well, so naturally a British person fits right in there, since we're so very well known for our openness about all things sexual, bodily, corporeal. But those of you who know me from last year, you already know that for me, both the body and the voice serve as these kind of laboratories for me, so for sort of these social experiments which I carry out on stage in front of an audience. And welcome to my laboratory, first of all. And I hope that you've all signed your waivers. Yeah, no. But this part of the experiment is the part where I tell you that it's not actually a laboratory, but a laboratory, which is how we pronounce it in the United States, which is where I'm actually from. And I share that with you because I am interested in the idea that my not only my voice, but also my body language, right? So the difference between me now and, sort of this person who really sort of occupies a different kind of space, is that if I'm, moving around, let's see, I didn't warn my friend in the booth that I might do this, but I'm going to wing it because you're so lovely. Okay. Is that on? Is that on? Hello. Right, so if I'm, when I'm this person, do you know what I mean? I'm really sort of, there's this kind of physicality, there's a way of taking up the space, or not, so I don't really want to impose on you. And I'm almost sort of, this concave presence. There's a lot of, furrowing of brow and a lot of sort of apologizing for taking up any space at all. And that, all in a very funny sort of psychological way, is about not claiming the privilege that I actually have. Right, so, so there's that, in contrast to, kind of,
you contrast that with me, my body, I have a different body. Even though, because, I had an accident, y'all don't want to hear the whole story. But it means I feel my relationship to my body is different now than it was. Every day is different. And your relationship to my body is different than it would be if I,
Here, just me, Sarah Jones, taking up this much space and kind of being bigger and all of that kind of thing, right? So my experiment, thank you. My experiment is really about thinking about how the ways in which people's bodies and sort of my relationship to my body, say, how a person carries herself or himself, to say nothing of the gender fluidity. We have folks who identify anywhere on that spectrum, so we'll just pick her for now. How a person carries herself or speaks or, just sort of embodies a particular relationship to her own power, her understanding of her own power, whatever power the world confers upon her. And, I think of a supermodel. The world is kind of going, that's a good body. And she's walking around, she's doing a, she's a good body. She's doing a whole other, oh, it's a good body. So she's really excited about her body because of what the world is telling her about it. And then, then there are those people who, regardless of what the world tells them about their body, they're really able to enjoy it. And to, kind of interact with the world in a way that says, this is the space I claim, regardless of, what you want me to have. And so I'm really interested in kind of how one's own self-concept and, how that manifests physically impacts the way the world reacts to the person. And then there's a loop. There's just this constant loop. So Miss Lady,
she's stuck here in a kind of way. And not really, I'm a free person inside. But I'm just saying to you that this is ongoing, that I am the way I am. You respond to me the way that you do. And on. I must keep being the way I am because you're going to keep responding to me and, it.
So I'm really interested in that for the purposes of my characters. And, this disparity between how people who look different, who, come from different backgrounds, have different skin colors, different heights. I mean, we all know the statistics about how, taller people make more money. Everything else being equal, they make more money. Where is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar again? But, and of course, racial disparities, ethnic disparities, cultural, all of this stuff really fascinates me because these are the people I portray. And for those of you who don't know, I get the inspiration for many of my characters from my family and my upbringing. I told this to folks last year, but on my mother's side alone, my grandmother was Irish-American and German-American mix, and on that side of the family, there were both Christian and Jewish relatives who I, would be around as a little kid. That's a very long story filled with lots of intrigue and interfaith guilt, as we say. And then my grandfather was, his family was from the Caribbean. I have Latinos on, my extended family on that side. And then my father's family, African American, also with Caribbean roots, and he grew up in the South. And so all of that, my father grew up in a time when he was told to cast his eyes down so that he wouldn't make eye contact with white people, right? That's a body language. So he learned something that then had to be unlearned later on when he married my mother, for example. It was very important to be able to look at the person you're going to marry, even though they have white skin, right? So I'm fascinated by these things. And, gender, how women, some women learn to really kind of shrink into their bodies. Or when I was a kid, because I was so tall, I learned how to do, by 7th grade, I learned how to do this, which is the disguise about 5 inches of your height, lean. This was my lean. And I'm, yeah. Like, don't take me seriously, I'm not really tall. So I just think that all of these, kind of the cultural cues we get, regardless of the actual body, I can be almost anybody in this body and have you react to me differently depending on how I appear and sound and your comfort level with your body. It's all really interesting stuff to me. So maybe a little too interesting, because if I don't stop, you won't meet any of my friends. So into all of this kind of phenotypical free-for-all of my family, the characters started coming to me, and I'm, again, going to let them share how their bodies shape their lives. So, without further ado. Hi, thank you so much. I'm very, very happy to be here today, right now. My name is Nereida, and first of all, I would just like to say that I feel very, very privileged because I was also able to be here last year in Chicago. It's really beautiful this year. Oh my God. It's like the Miami Humanities Festival. I love Chicago, but I'm just saying the weather. Come on, seriously. This is a very amazing opportunity for me, and I know that we are talking about the body and ethnicity and all of this stuff like that. And in case you were not here last year, I am Dominican. I'm Dominican American. Actually, you could say that I grew up in the capital of the Dominican Republic, otherwise known as Washington Heights in New York City. Thank you very much. And I am a junior in college at this point. And I am still working on my public speaking style. So it's very difficult for me because historically I get very nervous. And everyone knows that. And, sometimes I feel like Sarah Jones is making fun of me because, that she knows that when I come out here, I'm probably going to get very nervous. When I get nervous, I start to talk really fast. Nobody can understand anything I'm saying, which is very frustrating for me, as you can imagine. So I have to, calm down, take a deep breath. So, and it's now I'm remembering that she was saying, oh, I really want you to talk first, because it's very interesting what happens to you, and, it's a thing about the body and everything like that, and that I always wish that I had some kind of micro-imaging of your brain of what happens when your mind starts to go really fast like that, and your mind is going fast, and your mouth is going fast at the same time, and that what it would look like, on a scan or something like that, and since they probably have brain surgeons or, brain people, neurologists and stuff like that there, that they could do a scan of your head, which is, of course, they're not going to do that. I was like, haha, you're really funny. But, the thing about it is, that I really do have the experience that, when I am present inside my body, I've been taking yoga, which, by the way, I know that we were just talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He does yoga. That's, the biggest yoga mat in the world, right? It's unbelievable. It's probably, 2 mats. I hope that's not disrespectful because I'm not trying to be, sizist about him. Anyway, my point is that with all respect, I think that just being present in my own body, and I am learning to do that through yoga and just breathing, and that, the mind-body connection, everything like that, when I start to really get going, then I can, just try to slow it down by breathing. Okay, that for me, the main thing about that is that I have grown up for such a long time with my heart rate elevated at all times. It was it was just normal to me. And, at first, I was like, well, I don't know. Is it just me, or is everybody like that? And then, I was talking to my mom and, my sister, and, on the one side, it's really funny, right? Because all of us were walking around oh, my God, what are we going to do? And it's even worse in Spanish, but I'm not even going to bother you with that. But right now, the really interesting thing for me is that I realize some of it is stress. And that, my heart rate, I'm so used to it being, very elevated. That's, very typical for me. And I started to think about that a little bit more, and how that, I walk very, very fast. I really, really do. And in New York, that's just a normal part of the culture. Just by the way, I wanted to test it out, so I walked around in downtown Chicago. You guys have the same thing here. And, that's a state of just constant, elevation of your heart rate. And I was thinking about the stress that I remember, even when I was a very little girl, when my family first came here in this country. Sometimes where we would be out, if we would be shopping or something like that, and I was not a very big girl at that time, but people, if I was just with my little sister, they would look at us, to follow us in the store to see if we were going to steal something from them. And at first I was like, get out of here, I'm coming from DR. It's people, they're not going to follow a little kid, or whether they want you to sweep up the store. They're not really worried about you stealing something. They will hope that you work or something like that. But we don't really have good child labor laws. But anyway, I shouldn't say that. It's whatever. Anyway, the point is that from that time, so early, I was experiencing that feeling that I'm not okay right here. I'm not supposed to be shopping in these people's stores. My money is not good, and they're going to follow me to kick me out because they're afraid that I'm going to steal something from them. And that was a very typical feeling for me to have, and that I didn't feel relief. And then, like, when you get older, you're walking down the street. It doesn't matter if you could have, like, a paper bag on your body, on your head. Guys are still going to stop and be, Mommy, what are you doing? They're, like, going to stop and harass you and everything like that. And people are like, oh, Mom, why can't you take a compliment? It's not a compliment. It's very stressful for me. And, like, I feel my heart rate doesn't go down because that's, like, almost like a threatening thing that I cannot even just walk outside without my heart. It's, like, going like that. And then I was thinking about it even more. And I really wanted to, like, examine this idea that some of the people in my community, my family even, they're coming from the experience of coming to this country. They're working so hard. Their heart rate cannot go down. They're scared that they're going to be late on the train. They're scared when they get to work. They're working 2 jobs. They're worried about their kids. They're worried that they don't have health care or something like that, that their kid is not going to, have a good life. Like, they're just always stressed. It's like normal. And I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine, and it was like, okay, imagine that you had to make an illegal U-turn in the street. And you're saying to yourself, like, I really don't want to make this U-turn. What's going to happen? You start to panic. Oh, my God. You start to, like, the adrenaline is rushing. Like, what if I get caught and then I'm going to get a ticket? And you really start panicking. It's really, really bad because it starts going in a loop in your head, And I was realizing that, like, that feeling of just thinking about doing something illegal makes people, like, the stress level and all that adrenaline, the stuff you learn about in, freshman biology, like the fight or flight, that's what happens to your body. Then just imagine that somebody says, you and your whole family are illegal. That's what they call you. Not just one decision that you might have to make and you're afraid, but that your identity is that you are illegal. That means that you are in a state of constantly not being okay. And I understand why people, there is no such thing as a legal person, but like if there are, standards that they want to apply to everybody throughout history and time, sure, no problem. But I don't know, to me, it seems like it's a very unfair thing to have people just living in this, like, how you would say, a perpetual state of being not like they belong and not like they have any rights to ever feel safe and to let their heart rate come down. So now, when you hear me starting to get very stressed, you'll know what's behind it. Unfortunately, it's like, the whole state of Arizona. But, I also wanted to say that it's also about how I can try to control the factors that I can control inside my own life. And so, even though I know times are difficult, I know that I can only make my heart rate worse if every time I turn on the television, I'm making myself insane and think I'm never going to drink tea again because this tea is the problem with everything. I'm just going to drink coffee. Like, that's not going to help me at all to, like, put all my frustration on the party tea people. And, I don't want to say their name like it is because it gives them publicity. So, for me, I can do what I can inside of my own body to regulate that influence of all of those things, all of those messages. You are illegal. You are not okay. You don't belong in my store. Whatever those messages are, I have the power within my own body to try to regulate against that. So for now, I am going to probably go and do some breathing exercises and some yoga. But in the future, if you do another segment, I recommend that you do something about politics in this country for your next festival. I'll be back. Thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Linda DiPetito. I am very happy to be here with everyone. And, I wanted to say to Sarah, I call her Sarah, she, and I met because, first of all, I'm a nurse at a hospital in Long Island in New York. And, I'm very proud of the work that I do. And, I think it's wonderful that the Humanities Festival recognizes the importance of the body. That's the profession I've been working with bodies, for 11 years now. And, I know Sa because her mother is an OBGYN. And we both were working in her office early in my career when I was a young nurse. Sarah would answer the phones, which was hilarious. You never know who you were going to get. And, but she's a very good kid, but we would argue. We would argue a lot. But she asked me to come here. Will I, share my feelings and experiences about, my profession? It has to do with the body. Fine. So here I am. And, we're talking about the body and social issues here. And I'll just warn you in advance that I am used to lecturing other nurses. So if you could all just do me a favor and, try to pretend that you're all RNs here in this auditorium. It's very easy, okay? I can give you a little clue. Just imagine that your hospital is suing your union right now, and you haven't gotten a raise since the first season of Grey's Anatomy. Just try to go there. See if that works for you, okay? So anyway, so we're talking about differences here, and I've learned that, for me to be true to myself is very important. And, one thing about a melting pot society is that, of course, everybody sees things the way they see them through their own eyes. And punctuate with the body parts when I can. Eyes. And I believe that all people have every right to their feelings and opinions because, thank God, we are in America. However, there are times when I'm standing with Sarah, when she brings me to the events, and sometimes, it's like everybody's picking on a certain group of people, and, a lot of times I'm the only one who's not a minority in the group, and my identity's, but, I find that I can get along with anybody as long as they're living in reality, but I feel like there are some people, their reality, I don't recognize this, So, obviously, I'm not talking about their very personal experience. Nobody controls where you're born or what color you are. Not that it matters, white, black, pink, or green, or yellow. But, sometimes the complaining that I hear, whether it's on my job or, when I'm talking to Sarah, it can be disturbing to me as an American. And I told her that I was going to share with you very openly and frankly today. And, I think that we should all acknowledge that there are good people from all backgrounds. And, for example, I read in the paper about a veteran, it was a few weeks ago, very patriotic guy who's giving back to his community. Guy happens to be Mexican, and he's doing good in the world. And, I think he is a role model. He is a role model who should be held up as an example to all Americans. Also, of course, especially where I am out on Long Island, we happen to have a problem with illegal, immigrants, who are living 20 to a house, and, they want to complain, but they want to enjoy the benefits of being here. So, for me, that's a problem, that people have this idea that America owes something to everybody who feels discriminated against. And, I understand, look, we all have to deal with discrimination. I live in the real world. Is it fair? No, it's not. But at the same time, at some point you have to try to move on from talking about that stuff, and you have to let it go so you don't develop a victim mentality, which is some of what I hear when anyway. I try to give the example from my own personal life. For example, my grandparents, they came here from Italy and from Poland, and they did the best they could with what they had, and people called them names, people discriminated, and they were prejudiced. But you know what? They didn't complain. They worked very hard, and in a few generations, we've all just blended in, and you become average Americans, just like anybody can become an average African American or Hispanic American also. And, do some people have it a little harder? Yes, I understand that. But, at the same time, you have to try to use that to motivate yourself to do better. And that is why I believe, from my experience and everything I've seen at the hospital, that it is really cruel to give people medical handouts and then they're coming into my delivery room fully dilated with no place else to go. I'm sorry to be crass, but we are talking about the body here. And, Uncle Sam is just supposed to foot the bill, and then I get in trouble, believe it or not, if I ever share an opinion. I would never, and I hope nobody has YouTube here, because, as a nurse, I am a sensitive person, of course I am, and I get into trouble with my superior. She's telling me that I'm insensitive or that I'm not, treating people with respect for who they are. Of course I treat you as an individual, but that means if you come into me and you're not speaking English, I can't help you. That gives me a situation that compromises your health because I can't help you, because we're not in Spain. I really mean this. And, I also want to say that I empathize, I sympathize with people, they're poor, I understand that. But I got to go to work every day. And, I wish we could help every poor person from every poor country around the world. I really do wish to God, I do. But we can't, we have to be realistic at a certain point. And I want to tell people, it's just like we can't afford to help those who choose to be poor here, where there's so much opportunity. If you look around yourself, and, it's very disturbing to me that there are so many people who want to continue to blame their choices on the system. I really do believe it's usually just a matter of bad choices. And when they blame the country, it's very upsetting for me as an American. And I just want to share one example that I was at the hospital. This was back during the presidential election. And, a coworker, I normally get along with her very well, happens to be African American. She all of a sudden was very aggressive and belligerent with me and yelling that the United States was wrong because we got rich and made a lot of money during slavery, and then black people couldn't vote or own anything for a long time. I understand that terrible, terrible, sad history. But the operative word there is history. I was not alive during slavery. My grandfather wasn't even here. My God, my great-great-great-grandparents. Yeah. And, I want to tell her, you can't just take that out on me. She can vote just like I can vote. And we also had Martin Luther King in this country, And, hello, look at Oprah. When are people going to be satisfied? But I just, on top of all of that, I work very hard at my hospital to be colorblind. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I don't have a racist bone in my body. And I, feel very strongly that we just have to have standards. And, like I said, there are some people who I believe they want to talk about cultural competency, implying that somehow I am not competent. And that I have to embrace just anyone that I don't know. I work with nurses from all around the world, different body types and heights and all of, it's just like in your book that you have, all the differences. But I should not be forced to have to embrace just anyone I don't know or just any idea that maybe I don't believe in just because it's PC. Because let's be honest, we all know what happens. There are fringe elements of groups that do move into communities. And, it has happened that they will, enforce their culture. And the next thing you know, they're in your kid's school and they want to outlaw Christmas, And so I always tell Sad the same thing. I recognize that this country, as I say, is a melting pot. But I believe, of course, yes, our diversity is our strength. But if the Statue of Liberty could talk today, she would say, that's enough. There's no more room, Or just, if you wanted to come, you should have come earlier. That idea. However, I do, as I say, recognize that diversity is our strength. And I want to clarify for people who don't understand, and maybe they're very confused about the recent election, I want them to understand that what makes us great is we respect all people, no matter what kind of body or what kind of physical type they happen to have, as long as they respect us in return. And that is why to be surrounded at times by people who are not respectful, it makes me wonder, maybe they don't believe in this country. Maybe they don't really understand my country. Maybe if it's so terrible to live here, if they're so miserable being here and they're so downtrodden, maybe they should leave my country to those of us who really care about it and don't want to see it exploited. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, that's a tough act to follow. Sure, put all the pressure on the Indian guy. I will say this though, every time she just said, my country, my country, my country, I kept thinking, gee, I know just what you mean. I don't claim to represent anyone's opinion but my own. I'm a member of the Blackfeet Nation, but I'm an individual. By the way, I'm also half Lakota, and I'm an outreach worker. I'm based out of South Dakota currently. My name is Gary Weaselhead. I always like to introduce my credentials first before giving my name, since some people struggle with it. But Weaselhead is my given name. And whenever I'm speaking in Washington, D.C., which, you know, sometimes they like to have one of us in the photo, whenever I'm speaking to the powerful politicians, I like to say after I give my name that even though it would have seemed like an obvious choice, no, I did not go into politics. And that usually warms them up so that I can explain to them that in addition to being a community activist and an outreach worker, I am also a professional comedian. That's something I've always tried to use humor to reach out to people and talk about social issues. The comedy, well, it's been ever since I was a kid. Since I first saw a great Indian comedian by the name of Charlie Hill. He was a hero of mine. Charlie, if you don't know him, he actually used to work with Richard Pryor. He's a great man. But he had this idea back in the 1990s for a sitcom that he wanted to do on TV. He wanted to do it on NBC. And it was going to be a show about nothing. But then, you know, he sold it to this unknown white guy for $22 and some beads. Anyway, I'm most popular on the college and university campuses. You know, whenever they want to do a diversity day or hey, we're not all white week, you know. Then I'm there. But Sarah invited me here today because, I think she wanted me to talk about the body and the spirit, you know. But I'd really rather start with telling you some facts about Indian people that you may not know. Like the first one I always like to start with is, we still exist. Sometimes I know our societies are so segregated. Depending on where I am, people are so shocked to see me, they look at me like I just jumped off the Land O'Lakes butter box. But I can assure you that we are still here. You know, it does take more than centuries of extermination campaigns, dehumanization, broken treaties, and Kevin Costner movies to destroy an entire people. But I hesitated at first about doing my stand-up routine here. I mean, I know the topic is the body, but this is a kind of intellectual gathering. You have panels with the titles like Rhetoric and Sports in the Ancient World. I can't even write that myself. So I felt a little maybe silly about just cracking jokes without being more rigorous. I didn't want to just come up here and hit you with my usual casino rundown or riff on the touchy sports mascot issue. Like, oh, hey, we're not that far from Cleveland. How about them Indians? No, really. I decided that I would try to be serious and talk about all the conditions and illnesses that are threatening the few people we still have left, so that you can really have a picture in your mind. I want to tell you how the BIA, it's the Bureau of Indian Affairs, cannot possibly meet the needs of people who have been forcibly spread out, disenfranchised, and disconnected from their ways, the way we have. I want to remind you about children like my own mother, who were torn from their families and imprisoned in work camp boarding schools for as long as it took to beat the language, the Indian, the land, and the spirit out of them. And this was a government program just one generation before me. This is not ancient history, though some might like to believe it is. I want to just quote you a few statistics, like 85% unemployment on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Doesn't give you much of a chance to do anything with your young body. I want to tell you how the Pima in Arizona have the highest rates of diabetes, not in the country, in the world. Again, there's your body-spirit connection. I want to tell you how we as Indian people are 65% more likely to die of tuberculosis in this day and age than other Americans, and that our young people are twice as likely to commit suicide. And I want to tell you how on most reservations, if you wanted to take care of your body, the closest hospital is so far away, people joke, you better start heading over there while you're still feeling good, if you hope to get there by the time you're sick. And even though alcohol is banned from all of Pine Ridge, and it is illegal to sell it anywhere on the reservation, I can tell you how a whole town, conveniently made up of 4 liquor stores and nothing more, sits 400 yards off the reservation. The state of Nebraska just winks each year and lets the white owners make millions, helping those Indians drown not only their sorrows, but their yesterdays, todays, and tomorrows. But whatever your background, whether you're familiar with any of these facts or not, I don't want to waste your time telling you things you won't remember when you leave, or having you think I'll never probably see another Indian until, maybe I watch a movie or something like that. But I want you to know that not only are we still here, we aren't asking for handouts. We're not here to try to paint the White House red with our fury at being made to feel that we're asking, begging, when really it is Uncle Sam who has dealt himself the ultimate handout down through history and up to this very minute, if you look at the body of history. But what I do want to share with you is that pictures of the 500 nations, though they be darkened by shadows in places, are not some black and white nostalgic postcards of an era gone by. We are living spirits, breathing bodies, alive in vibrant color, full of character and laughter that lets the tears run down. So when you write the record, as you always do, please remember we're here. Honor your promises. Give us back what we're owed. Take us seriously. But when you write the record, please be sure you put our sense of humor on it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so very much. This is me again. The real me, my real voice. And I actually want to share with you that I have the great privilege of doing some question and answer with you with some of my friends who were here last time. So if you remember any old friends from before and you wanted to visit with them, they just might appear if you have a question. No pressure. Oh, and we have microphones roving through the audience.
Hi, I really, really like the teenage hip-hop guy. Is he here with us today? I have a lot of teenage high school students here that would love to meet him.
All right, first of all, I just like to, first off, I just like to thank you for asking, for me by name. I do consider myself very popular. My name is Rashid, and, Sarah Jones had asked me, will I come here, and then I was like, nah, let me, be generous and let other people get a chance, because I know people love me, but I got to let other people get some shine, you feel me? So that's why I was like, But now that I'm here, I do appreciate the opportunity. By the way, thank you for the compliment that you think I'm a teenager. You know what I'm saying? I ain't been a teenager for a minute, but thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? You know what they say about the body, you know what I'm saying? Black don't crack, you feel me? All right. But anyway, so yeah. My name is Rashid. Very, very excited to be here tonight, you feel me? And I like, you know what I'm saying, it's very diverse in the audience and whatnot. Everybody is very, open, whatever. This lady right here is bugging out. What's up? Yeah, all right. Anyway, so, it's very important for me to share my experience. I know Sarah Jones talk about the body a lot and whatnot. And me and her, we got some disagreements about a few things, Me, myself, it's very important to me that females don't feel like they getting objectified or whatever, But at the same time, I do hope that they will feel comfortable wearing attractive clothes. I would like to think that we could find a balance. That's just one little plug I'm gonna make right there for one idea about the body. I'm just gonna put that out there. I ain't gonna get too deep with you. It's me and you. We like having a conversation right now. It's very beautiful. This is what we doing right now. Who got a question? I can stay all night. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for you, Chicago. All right? Nah, for real. Thank you. Now, by the way, now I feel very bad, like I was supposed to say something uplifting to the high school young people. So I'm going to say, stay in school, but definitely, I know that's a cliche and whatnot, and what have you. But not just stay in school, but learn how to think critically. Yo, I'm not playing. Because for real, if I had learned how to think critically, I'm going to put it to you like this. All right, Sarah Jones had mentioned President Obama a second ago or whatever. And, I'm very proud, that to be alive right now at the same time as, whatever people think about, whatever. I mean, it's Chicago, it's where he's from and whatnot. So it's like, but for me, myself, it would be obvious why I would identify with Barack Obama, you feel me? But in case it's not obvious, it's like, I'm going to start off by telling you, Barack Obama, he had got a lot of experience when he was a young man, as a young attorney. He benefited from a lot of experience in dealing with the law. And me, myself, in my younger days, I had also had my share of experience in dealing with the law, you feel me? But when I learned how to think critically, I realized how come they always police in my neighborhood, you feel me? And I ain't got to do nothing. You feel me? I mean, I'm saying it's like I told the people when I was here last time, you know what I'm saying? I ain't even got to be doing no dirt, you know what I'm saying? It's like I just going to, be guilty by association because I'm coming from a working class or whatever, poor or being black or whatever. Then you take somebody who real rich, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no police, you know what I'm saying, driving around near their neighborhood unless they protecting them, you feel me? And, they might be in there doing all type of dirt or whatever. They could be in there, having a drug problem, messing with some drugs. They rich and they white. The police just going to be like, oh, excuse me, we sorry for invading your privacy. We going to let you get on back to being America's favorite conservative radio host. All right? Okay.
It's my first time here this year, and I'm really enjoying you. I have a question for you, though. How do you feel when people laugh at something where you're really serious? Because you do teach a lot through humor, but there are some things that people laughed at that I thought you were serious about.
Just a minute, I'm coming. Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for the question. So many beautiful, wonderful people here. Why do I ever leave Chicago? Anyway, my name is Lorraine Levine, and I'm here because Sarah puts me in her show. Hi, sweetheart. You're new. You weren't here last year, so you don't know me. Very nice to meet you. Okay. Anyway, so Sarah puts me in the show, what she calls her one-woman show. And I always say, you know what that means, of course. That means she takes the credit and then makes us come out here and do all the work. But I don't mind. And, on the subject of the different, here's what's interesting, okay? Sarah, you met her. She's a very nice young black girl. She calls herself black. She's really more like a caramel color if you look at her. Or like a mocha. I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Anyway, the point is that she tries to let us have our own time to say whatever we have to say. And we can't control what other people think or do. And that's okay, because that's how the world works. We do our best to say what we mean what we say, but don't say it mean. It's a little slogan. I learned it from my grandson. Isn't it cute? Anyway, so we try to, we just try to tell the truth and be loving, and you do what you can. Sometimes I come out on stage and, you don't know what we're, depending on where you go, people maybe they don't like. Let's just say there are places I've traveled where, I wouldn't exactly come out to the audience and say, Shalom, Chavarim v'Chavarot. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there wouldn't be a soul who knew what I was saying. And that's okay. I don't always have to be around people just like me, but there are some people who might not like my ideas, or they'll laugh when they hear something that's very touching for me. And what can I do but learn? What can I do but learn? Am I right? Okay. Mwah. Thank you.
Could you give us the voice of that, I believe it was an Indian doctor last year? Oh, she was wonderful.
Okay, first of all, I have to tell you, I was completely having a panic a moment ago because I thought, I'm not here. And then fortunately I found myself there. It's a very philosophical thing, It's kind of very Cartesian, I have a scarf, therefore I am. Okay. You are really too kind. But so I am very pleased that you wanted to make my acquaintance again. My name is Sunita Das Patel. I am a physician, but I joke to people, that wherever I travel, at times people, they will say, don't we know you from, you of Chicago? Weren't you the one who patched up my... No, that's not me. It's a different Indian doctor. I tell people, I am often the victim of mistaken ID, but ID stands for Indian doctor. Okay. But I did have many things that I wanted to say about the body, and Sarah Jones, she's trying to bring new people, and I respect that very much. But how much time do we have? No, I'm joking. I'm not going to keep you for too long, but I will answer a question. If someone has a question, or perhaps there is something that I could impart, I will do my best. But Sarah Jones, we met when she was doing a tour of different cities in India. And I will always tell people, we met first at the UN. She's a very nice woman, a bit tall, which frankly, at first it's kind of, talking about the body. I mean, there was almost a disconnect there until I stood up on one step. Just to be able to be eye to eye with a person is very important. And when she was traveling with us, we realized that we do have a lot that we wanted to share, especially about the women's rights and teaching girls and women, women's empowerment, not only to the girls and the women, but of course the men, right? Because what good is it to teach about empowerment when you're not kind of including everybody in the conversation who is involved, right? So but I always say that, that we are very grateful to the women who are working for that empowerment, who know that we are not there yet. We have a long way to go, not only around the world, but here. And that, we love not only, of course, our sisters, but also the men who love and respect them. Hello, you too. No, I'm joking. I'm joking about that. I'm completely joking. Just like to make sure that you are with it. But this is great. We are having really, I've been kind of spending time with a lot of different people here. We are having a cracking good time. So thank you for making sure that it is, such a robust conversation every time. Okay? Thank you. Okay. Did you want to? We have time for one more. I can't see you, but if you can talk, and I have to go away now. Sorry.
Hi. I think that the woman's name was Mrs. Lee, maybe? I wondered how her daughter was doing from last year. And her daughter. Oh, maybe Mrs. Lee is not here.
Hi. I am so embarrassed about this right now, but Mrs. Ling is not here. My name is Bella, and hi. And I wanted to be here so badly. And Sarah Jones was like, yeah, you can totally come, like, it's fine. And then, like, we get here, and it's like, and I'm like, is it like because I consider myself, like, a person of color, except that, like, that color is like a beige or like a pink. And I recognize that, like, there's, like, power dynamics, and, like, I did a pluralism workshop and, like, everything. But also just that, like, I would like to have been here as well. And I just want to say that, like, Mrs. Ling, her daughter is, like, in a marriage now with her partner, and they have a baby that is, like, so cute. Amazing. This baby is amazing. So, like, I just wanted to share my, like, joy with you that, like, I can report that. But she, like, is at the hotel.
I know that we only had time for one more question, but my name is Pauline Ning, and I just want to take this time to thank Bella for talking about my daughter to you today. But I am a member of the Chinese community in New York. My daughter is gay, and for a long time I had some difficulty with people think that my daughter will not be able to have a good life if she will be gay. And I talk about that on stage, and that's very difficult for some people. They think that's a disrespect, or that we would say shame, or that you lose face to do something like that. So I want to speak for myself to say that I'm very proud of my daughter. And I am so proud of my new grandson. And next time, I will be sure to tell you how they are doing with some pictures. I will bring PowerPoint.